his time at the UN Climate Change Summit in France today. In his final remarks, he expressed confidence that a major agreement among world leaders would be coming.
Now, all of this will be hard. Getting 200 nations to agree on anything is hard. And I'm sure there will be moments over the next 2 weeks where progress seems stymied and everyone rushes to write that we are doomed. But I'm convinced that we're going to get big things done here.
Does it feel a little off to you? I mean, to be talking about climate change in a city that is still reeling from the recent terror attacks that killed 130 people? Is he misguided in this right now? Is it not the appropriate time to be talking about this? Joining me right now, best-selling author Gina Loudon and Nomiki Konst from the Accountability Project. Good to see both you guys. Gina, you know, it feels in some ways insensitive to be talking about climate change when we got some real problems out there, and you're dealing with a country and with a city that is still trying to recover in the aftermath of those Paris attacks.
But for him, this isn't about the Paris attacks. For him, this is a very important distraction from his administration's abject failure to secure our nation and this world under his power. It's also, I believe, honestly, not at all about saving the planet, a lot more about redistributing wealth and continuing the fundamental transformation that this president promised.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because that wealth transfer is interesting to me. Essentially, he's saying, look, you know, if you're a poor country, you should be getting some kind of subsidy from a rich country like the United States so that you can cut your carbon emissions. It's kind of like a transfer payment or a welfare payment to poorer places, Gina. And what's wrong with that in a global economic environment?
Well, the problem with that is that, first of all, we have a lot of domestic issues we could be using this massive expense for, and instead of just throwing more money at a problem, which, let's not forget, is really weather. There's really no such thing as climate change. They can call us climate deniers, but we can go right back at them, Trish, and we can say, well, they're Islamic terror deniers because they are denying that that's the real problem right now.
I don't want to get into, because, you know, we could spend all day on this, whether or not climate change is real or not. I mean, we really could spend all day on this. But I do want to keep staying on this issue of whether it's really the best use of our president's time, effort, and everyone's energy to be out there pushing climate change when we got a serious problem in the way of ISIS confronting us. I just want to share with you, Nomiki, Americans, they know what the problem is right now. And the majority of them, 35%, of Americans polled say ISIS is the biggest concern to them in the election, followed by jobs in the economy, and then going on down the list here to climate change, coming in as the last issue that anyone cares about right now, Nomiki. So does this guy have his priorities straight? I mean, should the president be focused on what American voters are concerned about and what is best for this country in the way of our security right now?
So we live in a representative democracy, and part of the reason we live in a representative democracy is because we elect leaders who have more knowledge of information. For instance, the president knows that the Department of Defense issued a report last year saying that climate change threatens global security because it causes instability. And when you look at regions that are affected by climate change, whether it's drought or water wars or infrastructure problems, you know, this is where ISIS and other terrorist groups, they harbor terrorism in areas where there's government instability. And there's a direct correlation.
We're blaming terrorism, we're blaming ISIS or blaming climate change, I should say, for the rise in ISIS.
Well,
I don't want to say that. That's
terrorism.
what you're saying, correct?
No, I'm not blaming it. I'm saying it fosters terrorism. If you look at Syria, there's a massive drought in Syria right now. And part of the reason why Syria was targeted was because there was a major migration from that drought. There were no job opportunities. Farms had been shut down. So this is the Department of Defense talking about this. This isn't Bernie Sanders. This is the Department of Defense.
I think that it's a little too simplistic to say that, you know, drought suddenly equals we're going to kill as many people as we possibly can. I mean, I'd like to think better of human nature than that, Gina.
Well, when there's
Trish, these are things that people think about who sit in ivory towers somewhere and they theorize about these things and they tell us all these dire consequences that are supposed to happen, going back to Paul Ehrlich and others before him in the 1970s, and they never happen. It's called weather. It's cyclical. Trish, they can't even say whether it's getting hotter or colder, whether the polar ice caps are expanding or contracting. They have no science here, Trish. This is esoteric
99% of scientists, over 99% of scientists.
All right,
I'm not going to debate climate change.
From Terra.
Thank you so much, Nomiki. A pleasure.
Thank you, Trish.
Gina, I'm going to see you in a little bit, everyone. All right, who's buying ISIS's oil and essentially funding its mission of terror? A former top Homeland Security advisor is going to tell us. Plus, this is the season for political correctness, but one town sheriff has had just about enough of all of it. He is taking a stand, and he is posting a sign that says, "Merry Christmas and in God we trust." He's going to join me a little bit later in the hour to explain it all. See you right back here in 2.
Party crasher. With the GOP establishment turning on Trump, will infighting swing 2016? Dobbs sounds off in our powerful prime lineup.
I have asthma, one of many pieces in my life. So when my asthma symptoms kept coming back on my long-term control medicine, I talked to my doctor and found a missing piece in my asthma treatment.
Once daily Brio prevents asthma symptoms. Brio's for adults with asthma not well controlled on a long-term asthma control medicine, like an inhaled corticosteroid. Brio won't replace a rescue inhaler for sudden breathing problems. Brio opens up airways to help improve breathing for a full 24 hours. Brio contains a type of medicine that increases the risk of death from asthma problems and may increase the risk of hospitalization in children and adolescents. Brio is not for people whose asthma is well controlled on a long-term asthma control medicine, like an inhaled corticosteroid. Once your asthma is well controlled, your doctor will decide if you can stop Brio and prescribe a different asthma control medicine, like an inhaled corticosteroid. Do not take Brio more than prescribed. See your doctor if your asthma does not improve or gets worse.
Ask your doctor if 24-hour Brio could be a missing piece for you. See if you're eligible for 12 months free at mybrio.com.
This is a story about you, the incredible you. It starts with your DNA, your 23 pairs of chromosomes that make you unique. Your traits, your tastes. This is a story about why you became who you are. 23andme.com is the first and only genetic service available directly to you that includes reports that meet FDA standards.